Welcome everyone to Dead Talk Live, and tonight we are joined by filmmaker Francois Larosa. Francois, thank you for being on our show. How are you doing?
Great, brother. How are you? It's good to see you.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for being on our show. And let's just get started. You have done pretty much a little bit of everything when it comes to entertainment and Hollywood. Tell us how it all started for you.
I started acting back in 2000, but I started my production company in 2008. So I, uh, I guess my production side, I guess I'll speed it up from acting all the way up to. I think I'd rather start with just the production side of things. I definitely was an actor for about 8 years in Austin, Texas, and I got hooked up with some really interesting people. I did a couple of projects with Robert Rodriguez, um, and that was kind of my first classroom to the production side. You know, whenever you're on sets, it's hurry. The mantra is hurry up and wait, and that was actually my classroom of what each individual facet did to finish a film, whether it was sound, whether it was camera, whether it was yeah, a grip, even down to catering. I got, I got to learn all the production side of it, and years later, I talk about that in when you're doing a film or a project like that, it takes all parts to make a working brain. And that's something that I learned pretty early. Um, I started my company doing commercials. I did it for nonprofit organizations. Um, Back in the day in 2008, they were coming out with podcasts. And there was a lot of nonprofit organizations that had great websites,
Hmm.
but they didn't really have a podcast to show exactly what their program was about. And so I came in and I filled that niche and I did pretty good.
Nice.
So, yeah, with
Nice.
that, it moved up to doing commercials in Spanish. So I started doing commercials in Spanish. And um, I actually ended up with somebody that had a connection at the time with CBS Telemundo. And so we chatted a little bit, and they talked to me that they were something about they had an opening or they needed some content. I didn't think anything of it. I went down to San Antonio, Texas, and I remember I was just kind of vacationing there, having a few brewskis. I was downtown, and then I noticed two groups of people. There was probably about 30 people in each group, 30, 35. And I was looking at them, and I finally went up to them and I asked them, what exactly are you doing? Are you waiting for something? And they said, yeah, we're waiting for the ghost tour. And I thought, wow, this was interesting. So with me, I always carry a pad and pencil. And I'm always, when I find something interesting, I make a note. So I made a note about this particular ghost tour, and then I broke it down into what, in my mind, broke it down to demographics.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I noticed that the Spanish community really embraced this spirituality of ghost tours. They were really more interested. So what I did was I went on a ghost tour to check it out, and I heard the spiel, and I thought it was really interesting. And I went back to my hotel, and then I went home, came back to Austin, and I had already put together a package of this pilot program, this pilot project for TV called "The Success for the Four." And it was actually done in Spanish. It was called El Éxitos de los para los Cuatro, the success for the four. And I financed it with my money to do the pilot. I did a trailer. I had a poster. And I was ready to go down to CBS Telemundo for my 5-minute meeting to talk about this particular project that I had. Uh, but before I went down, I had my notes from my concept of me being in San Antonio. I had like a 2-page concept. Nothing, I didn't have a poster. I didn't have, a trailer or anything. I just had a concept. So I go into my meeting at CBS Telemundo with my connection. It's an interesting thing in this industry. It really helps if you have connections to take the next step into where you want to go.
Oh, yeah.
So I walked in and I showed them my poster. I said hello. There was 3 producers there, 2 male and 1 female. And I showed them my trailer, and then I showed them the pilot. And, after it was all said and done, the the female liked it, but the guys came out with this saying, and I'll never forget. They asked me, well, do you have anything else? And I know, what that means. That's pretty much, I said, I didn't know what to say after that, but I said, wait a second. I've got this concept. I don't have a trailer. I don't have a poster or I don't have anything but this concept. And I said, I'll share it with you. This was during the time when Ghost Hunters International was on TV, mm-hmm. Dead Files was on American TV, Plumber by Day, Ghost Hunter by Night type of thing was really taking off. These type of reality shows. So I said, this was my concept. I would get 3 sexy Latina females. They would investigate paranormal, urban legends, and hauntings, but they do it in high heels. And the guy stood up and said, there's nothing like that on TV, man. This is great. This is fantastic. I thought, so what happened, to make a long story short, they greenlit it, gave me money, and I shot the first season of it, and it was a success. It was the first time ever that first Spanish TV that it was done this way. I did a second season, but then that was it. That was it for me. I didn't want to do it anymore. Because I would have to go down to these hauntings or these places by myself, take photos, write notes, come back, and I would put together a episode, and I'd write the script in English, and then I'd hire bilingual actresses to go ahead and shoot it, and then we'd rehearse a little bit, and we'd do it, and I have to, the thing about shooting these reality shows is that, and for instance, a ghost wouldn't open a door when you wanted them to open the door. You'd have to kind of, cheat it a little bit. And I'm probably putting spoilers out there, but sometimes, you'd have to do it too. And then there was times where it did it by itself. I think the last one I did was at a hospital that I had kind of an interesting thing happen, and then I decided, this is good. 2 seasons is good. So from the TV reality shows, I ended up getting hired to do another food reality show from a producer in LA in Spanish, okay. And so from I did a couple of reality shows. I wrote, did cinematography for, I directed, and then. From there, it was just kind of just a standstill time for me to kind of regroup and recalibrate and just kind of take it easy and enjoy the things that I've accomplished.
That's a very interesting story. Just one question really pops into my head, and I'm sorry, I'm probably going to regret asking this, but what did the female in the group think about the high heel story?
Well, I actually was concerned about it, but I had to go through 40 Latina actresses. They came out of the woodwork to be a part of anything to do with CBS Telemundo.
Yeah.
So I already had 2 people that I knew that I think would be great for the show. The third one I had to really auditioned for, and then I found the third person. I wasn't sure about her, but then in the midstream, we had to replace her with somebody else. And then it's an interesting thing. I'm glad you said that, because the second season, the way it works is that, when you're dealing with TV producers, not everybody, but the ones that I was dealing with, they wanted to do a second season, but they wanted to replace all three girls and get somebody a little bit younger. And, these are some of the behind the scenes things that I wasn't really prepared for. I learned that there's politics involved in TV and film.
Oh, yeah.
Behind the scenes things. So I had to, recast for that. And it was really hard, because the females that were in the first one did fantastic. And so, I tried to advocate for them, but, we don't have the recast. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay.
But then, then after that was Food Reality. And then after that, I was at a interview, doing a interview for a Spanish magazine, and a producer came in and was talking to the CEO of the magazine, and they were looking to do a featured film here in Austin, Texas. And so there was some names thrown around. I was there. I introduced myself to the producers, and they said that, well, they checked out my credentials, they checked me out, and then I ended up going through a couple more meetings and listening to their vision of what they wanted to do. And then they gave me their budget. It was still independent. It was like under $2 million. Before, independent films used to be like a million, anything under $1 million, but now I think it's
way lower.
It's like, yeah. So
was that your production company's first dive into film?
No, it was actually my second. The first one I did was the reincarnation of Jezebel, and I wrote and directed that, and had to shoot some of that add-ons, and I sold that to a Latino American group, which ended up they bought all the rights, and they put it on HBO Go, I think, in Portugal. It started in Portugal and it kept going on. So that's where I finally had my name on the boards as a filmmaker that could do a story, could do a big production, and to do it in a under budget. And I had a great producer friend of mine that I knew from LA and also Austin. So that turned out pretty good. We did make our money back double, which was great for me. But then when I did the second feature film, I did it for a studio, which the guy, I was at the meeting, I was at that interview, and I met the producer. That particular company was called Vega American Studios. They worked for Warner Brothers doing CGI compositing and animation for Warner Brothers, but they were outsourced. They worked for Warner Brothers for about 10 years, and they did animation and CGI compositing, and they had to sign NDAs that they never worked on it. They never did any work on it. They just got paid, and they were located in Los Angeles, but their big company was in Hyderabad, India.
Yeah.
So they're the ones that they finally, I met them at that interview, and we had a couple meetings. I did 2 of their films for $1 million. I think, it was 2 for $1 million. And the first one went really good. I was very happy. It was called Garusta. I think that was the name of it. Which is kind of a cantation, kind of a spell, witchcraft type of film. And I did it, I completed it, and I gave them the files. I did not have first cut on that. I helped cast for that. I had to kind of do a little rewriting as for the script, but we got it off the ground. It did fantastic. The actors were just great. But it ended up in court. Something happened, and it turned out that the CGI compositor director had invested money in it, and blah blah blah. It ended up in court, ended up in a lawsuit. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have anything to do with that. But, I kept going to do their second film. So that Garusta film will probably never be seen. But I did their second film, and I did it. I think the second one, I think we had about maybe $500K left out of the budget to do their second one. So I did that, finished that. And that one actually did very well. It hit theaters here at the Alamo Draft Houses in Austin, Texas. And it did a week tour, did about a week. It's kind of like an Ethan Hawke film where Ethan does his film, and it lasts about a week in theaters. But
that's not bad. A lot of stuff doesn't even go to theaters nowadays.
Yeah. It did pretty good. We did the red carpet screening here in Austin, and that came out pretty good.
Now,
but along this, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like I said at the beginning of the show, you've done directing, producing, you've even done a little bit of art department work for Predators.
Right.
Right. Where, I know you own a production company, which in itself is a huge undertaking. I own a production company. When it comes to filmmaking, directing, producing, whatnot, what do you personally enjoy the most doing?
For me, I actually enjoy, I enjoy the story. That's number one. Before I get into anything, I have to really enjoy the story itself, and just try to chew on it, drink some vino and really understand it and then dissect it.
Yeah.
But I would say I'm very comfortable directing actors. I think that's one of the things, because I was an actor. I definitely am a good communicator with the not only the actors but the crew as well too. I think I've seen some directors, they scream and yell, and for me, it starts with me. If I try to keep everything on an even keel. I try to treat everybody with respect, and if I was to scream or yell, it would trickle down, and it would affect the production.
Absolutely.
And so, that's kind of my thing. I think I would have to say totally. I'd say I enjoy the writing substance more, but directing would be my forte that I can pretty much feel comfortable doing.
Now, do you consider yourself a horror fan?
Well, Los Angeles has pigeonholed me as an acclaimed horror filmmaker, but it's also the writing part of it. I recently I've gotten some scripts where I've had to sign NDAs and just put on my add-ons and do that type of thing. That's something that I'm known for, and I welcome it because I made a good income and living doing that, the horror area. I have to give kudos to Lorraine Warren. I met Lorraine a couple of years back at her house in Monroe, and I got to hear some of these stories that will probably never be put on the film, and I got to see the museum itself, and that in itself was kind of a
so you saw the Secret Room Museum.
I saw the Secret Room, yeah.
Nice.
And I probably wouldn't go back, but Lorraine was so sweet to me, and Tony Spera, great guy. I did get to go in, and I got to hear, I think they had just done Annabelle, the first Annabelle. And it was really an interesting time because while the movie was released, I was actually there with the real the real Annabelle doll,
Wow.
and they're in the museum. And but there was other things in that museum that were actually, for me, more frightening, you know. Um, but I think listening to some of the stories and some of the events that happened, kind of, I took notes and I listened and I thought, well, maybe I could use this later down the road. And um, I've actually used some of these things that I used in my writing for this upcoming script that I've been writing called The Possession 2. So I want to thank Tony Spira and the late Lorraine Warren, who was a lovely lady, by the way. And I have to say this sidebar note. When I was leaving Lorraine's house, this is how fantastic she was. She mentioned to me to stay away from Ouija boards. She said, "Don't go near Ouija boards. Stay away from Ouija boards." And I thought, okay. Well, I never go near Ouija boards, man. I really don't. And she told me it again. I thought, oh, okay, I got it. All right, thank you. Yes, yes. So the following 2 weeks was Halloween, and I was getting ready to go to this big party of a friend of mine's, and they put on a big Halloween party. And this one was even bigger. And as I was getting ready to walk out the door, something triggered in me, and I stopped and I said, "Hey, listen, could you call them and ask them if they have a Ouija board there?" And she thought I was, what? And I said, "Yeah, please do that." And so she called them and they said, yes, this year they were putting this old antique Ouija board in the front door where you'd have to come in and sign in on top of it. Oh. And I said, well, I can't go. They were all shocked. They said, what do you mean? I said, look, when Lorraine Warren tells me to stay away from Ouija boards, stay away from a Ouija board, I'm not going. You'd have to remove it. Yeah. And after it was all said and done, they did remove it and take it out of the house, away from the house, so that I could go and attend that.
I'm right there with you. You hear all these stories. People think it's a game and it's fun, but in reality, you don't know what you're messing with. Let's talk a little bit about The Possession 2. You just mentioned it. Yeah. First question: did you see The Possession, the first one with Jeffrey Dean Morgan?
Yes, I did. Actually, I was here, it must have been pre-COVID. The Bacon brothers were here, and a few people next to me was Kara Sedgwick, who played the mother in the film. And I did see that. I happened to be, I remember I was, something happened that I ended up with a producer, or it was the writer of the book, the D-Book Box.
The D-Book,
His name was, it was Jason Haxton Ross. And Jason was the one who bought it from Kevin. Kevin was the first owner of this D-Book Box, which now is owned by Zach Baggins.
Yeah, Zach Baggins, and he has it in his Las Vegas museum.
Correct. Well, that is Jason had it, and he acquired it from Kevin, and I happened to be talking with this producer who knew Jason, and then he hooked me up with Jason, and we talked. At the time, Jason was in Canada, I think, and we talked for about an hour, and he told me that he worked on The Possession, and to take a peek at it, and he was telling me some of his experiences about this. So I checked it out. Jeffrey Dean was on there. Great. It was really done really well with the iconic directors, Sam Raimi, of course.
Hmm.
Um, and Sam Raimi's done some fantastic films. So I saw it, and then I called Jason back, and I said, "Well, what's become of that? What's going on?" And he said, "Well, they've got a script. They're not happy with it, and Sam Raimi's asking 20 million this time."
For this is for the second one.
The second one, yeah. And so what happened was the first one they did for 10 million, and it made 82 million. It grossed
Hmm.
82 million. So the second one, they weren't happy with the script. So I talked to Jason and I said, "You know what? I'm going to do a trailer, man, and I'm going to do a different take on it, and then I will definitely write the trailer, and then afterwards I'll do the script." Well, I went ahead and did the trailer. I financed it myself, and it just so happens that one of the boys that I auditioned for was a fantastic actor named Tristan Riggs, and he was in the film. He was in the trailer, and it came out great. So I went ahead and I put it together, and I sent it out to Jason, who gave it to Sam Raimi. And I didn't get any feedback from it. I didn't get any feedback from it, but I know he saw it. So a couple of years go by, and then I thought, okay, I've got some free time. Let me finish the script. So I finished the script. It took about, oh gosh, off and on, probably about 6.5 months. Did about 3 drafts with it. And I felt very good about it. I copyrighted it through the WGA in Los Angeles, so it's copyrighted. And I developed my poster, and I have a trailer. And so what happened was that boy that I casted for the trailer, his name's Tristan, ends up in a big movie with Guy Pearce. And it's
Hmm.
on Netflix. It's called The Seventh. Please forgive me, Tristan. It's called The Seventh Something with Guy Pearce.
I think you're
So
referring to the seventh day.
The Seventh Day.
Yeah.
That's it. And what happened was, it did well. It ended up on Netflix, and they were doing Q&As, and they asked Tristan, "What's next for you?" And he just came out and said, "Well, I'm waiting for Francois Larosa to finish the Possession 2 script." And they said, "Francois Larosa, the Possession 2, well, it caught fire." I mean, Lionsgate came out and did a video of the first one, and then it says, "Will the Possession 2 be made?" And then it listed my name as being the director,
Hmm.
that we were already in production shooting the film, when in fact, I did the trailer and I have a script, but I have not gotten the funding for it.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask you, man, that's fascinating. Thank you for sharing, that story. So, what I was going to ask is, as of today, you are, it's been leaked, rumored, whatever, that you are directing The
Right.
Possession 2. I did not know that you wrote the script, so that's new information there. So, what is the status, coming straight from you, for The
Right.
Possession Part 2?
Okay. Where I'm at right now is I'm going to be connecting with some of my connections this December in Los Angeles. I've got to go to Miami first. I've got some connections there. I'll be there on the 4th, and then when I come back, I'll be heading to Los Angeles to talk to some of my connections there. But I'm in Victoria, Texas today, and I'll be heading back to Austin tomorrow. I'm sorry, Saturday.
Okay.
And while I'm there, I'm going to meet with Alvaro Rodriguez. I want to sit down and have a chat with him. Nobody really knows Alvaro Rodriguez that much, but I mean, he wrote Machete, he wrote Predators, the remake, he wrote Shorts. I think he did Shorts, but his brother's Robert Rodriguez.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to sit down with him and do a sit down and see if I can chat with him about maybe hooking up with Robert to do it here in Texas. One of the reasons is if you know, I can shoot this film, but I need
Money.
yeah, the money. And the money, it can come from Troublemaker Studios. Elizabeth Avalon is the vice president still, and I know Elizabeth. So I'm going to try to do a sit down with them, one of them, for sure Alvaro, but I want to sit down with either Robert or Elizabeth and do a pitch to them to see if they're interested. I know they put Eli Roth on the map. He did a couple of movies, horror movies.
Just a
And
few.
he was, yeah, just a few. Yeah, and he was an actor in, I think, Tarantino's film. I forgot what it was. It was that car movie with Kurt Russell, and
I know
Death
which
Proof.
one you're talking about, and it's
Yeah,
escaping. Yeah.
it was Death Proof. Yeah, so Eli was in that, but he was also in Tarantino's Glorious Bastards, I think.
So let me ask you
But
a question. Oh, I was
yeah,
sorry. I was going to ask, when it comes to the Possession franchise, does anybody, because they made the first one and whatever
right.
studio distributed, do you have to get the rights? Do they own the rights to the
If I,
name, the possession, and all
yeah,
that?
that's a good question. I actually wrote a rewrite for the Stephen King remake of the Graveyard Shift. And what happened was, I'm giving you an example, is that um, it turned out that I wanted to rewrite it and call it the Graveyard Shift. So I had reached out to Stephen King's people. Stephen King sold all the rights to Paramount, and Paramount, when they bought it from Stephen King, Stephen called it the Night Shift. And so Paramount changed the name to the Graveyard Shift. Well, I had to go through my attorney to do the Graveyard Shift 2022, call it like that. So I got the rights after so many, I think it's a 10-year gap. I got the rights to that.
Okay.
So with the Possession, it's been over 10 years. So I know that it's not going to be a problem for me to get as long as I don't call it the Possession and I don't do a remake of it. I've got a different take on it totally, where it takes off with the crash at the end. That's when it starts.
But it is a
Uh,
continuation of the story.
it is a continuation, but it's not going to be a problem because Sam Raimi and them did not write this, and it's totally. I checked with my attorney. He told me a thumbs up,
So
and
it's up for grabs.
it's up for grabs. And in fact, it's so up for grabs that a company in India did the Possession 2. They called it something else, I think, but it is a continuation, and it did okay. It didn't do great, and it was, I don't want to say it was done bad, but it would fit their standard. But they did do it, and I was happy for them. But it was nothing compared to what I have here.
Yeah.
And I can still stay with that $10 million budget. I can still stay with that
So you
$10
can
million
do the
budget.
Possession 2 with $10 million.
Yeah. If we shoot it here in Texas,
Okay.
if we shoot it here in Texas, because it's a right to work state and I don't have to mess with union, I could do it here in Texas.
That is
Well,
awesome. That is
yeah.
so awesome because
And
I was just going to say the Possession when it first came out was such a sleeper hit.
it was.
It was a hit. It was a great movie, and it was such a sleeper hit. And I'm glad somebody's finally picking up the story because it is based on this Dybbuk box. It is a real
Right.
story, and there's a lot more material to be told,
It
regarding this
is.
box.
And Jason Haxton Ross's journal, his book, had a lot of things that weren't even in the movie, and I thought that was gold. I couldn't. Some of these things that happened to him and his family were just beyond belief, and I definitely kept a portion of it in the movie, and so I also I also had at the end Jeffrey Dean Morgan answering the phone at the end, just an appearance. So I love to keep things open ended because you just never know in this business, man.
That's awesome. Oh, thank you so much for sharing that story with us. I know I'm personally cannot wait to see what you wrote, and hopefully you'll get the financing and you get to start shooting soon, and we get to see this film. Besides Tristan, on a $10 million budget, Hollywood is all about putting the name in front of the camera.
Right.
Besides Tristan, are there going to be a lot of new up and coming stars? I mean, it's all
Yeah.
preliminary, now.
Yeah. Whenever you're the studio or a studio, which I have already reached out to Blumhouse and Ghost House Pictures. I've already reached out to them. I haven't gotten a response yet, but I have recently reached out to them. They're going to require a named actor.
Yeah.
I know that I can get, I'd love to get Jeffrey Dean to come in and do a 1 day shoot, and knock that out. So then that way he's, named on there. But, I was looking for somebody to come in. I was looking at some of the people from American Horror Story,
Mm-hmm.
utilizing, one of the actors there. And I just can't think of the name right now, but definitely thinking of utilizing a male from there.
Nice.
With a project like this, if I come in as a writer, a screenplay writer, what they'll do is they will probably pick and choose who they feel who would be great for this film. I would have some say so, but it's that's the thing about studios is that they've already got their wheels turning once I sit down and continually discuss this. So I just got to go with what they,
Yeah.
if they're putting up the money, they're going to want this person and this person. And they probably will ask for my feedback, but bottom line, they're going to pick and choose who they want, man.
Yeah, like someone like Finn Whitrock from American Horror Story. I mean, a lot of great people out there that you
Yeah.
can get to do this film. Wow, that is awesome. I'm glad that we got you on here and we got to hear it straight from the horse's mouth. Francois, I want to thank you so much for coming on our show and sharing all your stories. How you got involved in this business and to answer the big questions about The Possession 2. Horror fans love this movie. I haven't met a single person who's watched it who has not loved it.
Right.
It was probably one of the first things I've ever seen Jeffrey in, and he was amazing in it. And
Yeah. He was. Yeah.
yeah, I'm just really, really excited. Before we go, any final thoughts you want to share?
I just want to say, thank you for what you do. Thank you for keeping the horror genre alive, and as well as the other aspects of what it takes to do a film. And I just say more power to you, brother.
Thank you, Francois. That means a lot. Thank you so much. Guys, thank you for tuning in tonight. I want to thank my guest,
Yes.
Francois Larosa. Stay safe. On behalf of Francois and myself, stay walking. Good night, everybody.
Take care, guys. See you later, man.